a lot of new information as well that it's popped up on the internet that Pablo and many other people are also responding to in light of some of the new findings that has now emerged. One of the people, Andre Cherney, the individual who signed off on Kawhi's contract, decided to give a lengthy response to a lot of the back and forth that has been going on. I think he said this after the Pablo's podcast, but just quickly, with the many hot takes in the past 10 days about the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, it's been surprising, though maybe it shouldn't be, that until now, no reporting has bothered to reach out to me for the facts about the contracts. This is what I told New York Times / The Athletic today. That's interesting. Pablo is straight up saying this is fake because they requested an on-camera interview with you via LinkedIn. Interesting. Definitely interesting. However, this is what he had to say. The claim that the contract with Kawhi Leonard was a no-show contract is false. The contract contained 3 pages of extensive obligations that Leonard had to perform, and the contract clearly said that if Leonard did not meet those obligations, aspirations could terminate the contract. The beliefs provision is not unusual in celebrity endorsements, and merely meaning we can't do something like make a vegetarian eat meat as a way of forcing them to break the contract. It doesn't mean you can have a belief of not talking to a camera. Now, I want to be clear. Let's stop there for a second. The reason why it came across as unusual isn't because there was a beliefs clause or provision. The reason why it was kind of odd is because normally you would have to legally outline what those beliefs are. So the idea of like the beliefs can be very ambiguous is not what is set in stone in terms of what someone may or may not do. That is not normal. That's not usual. Even in contracts that I sign, it's not normal or usual for you not to outline what the beliefs are that will prevent someone to not doing something. So let that be clear. So yes, belief clauses or not doing something because of your beliefs is something that's all there. In the months of discussion amongst our executives before signing the sponsorship, I don't remember conversations about the NBA salary cap. I signed the contract shortly before I submitted my resignation, but before I left there were numerous internal conversations about the various things Aspiration was planning to do with Leonard once the 2023 season began, including emails from the marketing team about their plans in just a week before my last day. I can't speak to what was done or not done after I left or why. Now, let's get into that. Cherney is someone that has conveniently stepped away from this fraudulent company before everything fell apart. So in the attempt to distance himself, he is certainly trying to make it seem as if like he was not a part of these conversations. To be fair, there could be some validity behind that. So I don't want to make it seem as if like that's not the case. However, there are also a bunch of people who made claims that there were no conversations with high execs when signing that contract. That in terms of what you were going to do with Kawhi came all around circumventing not only the cap, but the people who were there who might have asked Kawhi to do something since he is a talent on the team. But I want to be clear, so far none of this is indicting Aspirations for what they're doing. Because the question isn't necessarily did they make Kawhi do something or was he obligated to do anything the question isn't did Kawhi or should Kawhi do anything in pursuit of pushing Aspiration. That just would have made it more difficult to find this. That just would have made it less damning. That just would have meant that they would have done a much better job of potentially hiding this and not being lazy. That's not what we're asking. We're asking specifically, why is it that you decided to pay Kawhi, especially since he wasn't doing anything? That's what the question is. There were a bunch of other people who are not getting paid, and yet y'all still deemed it priority. I don't understand this concept. That paragraph. Maybe when you weren't there, he didn't do anything, and y'all were planning on doing it, but nothing still occurred. And we know that he kept paying him because what's left on the balance to pay Kawhi is only $7 million, which is just one more year of his contract. Joe Sandberg is now pleading guilty to criminal acts that were among the reasons that I decided to resign from Aspiration in 2022. This is very important. And that the company eventually went bankrupt. Those now calling our company a fraud are blaming the victims. Along with all our customers and investors, it is those of us who worked it is those of us, my goodness, who worked at Aspiration and gave years of our lives to its mission, who were hurt most by what Sandberg did. Now, I want to be clear, because we're also going to dig further in this. I want to be 100% clear. Is it a possibility that people like Steve Ballmer were taken aback? It was nothing but a rouse, that they got scammed. Well, from some of the new information that's found out, yes, that is also very clear. But the scam that is in question isn't Steve Ballmer putting money into the entity that can then help plant trees. The scam is, I gave you some money to do something that I'm not supposed to do, and you didn't go do it. That's what the scam is. He scammed, allegedly, another scam. That's the question. So there's a really high likelihood that, Steve Ballmer got scammed because he gave them money and they didn't do what he was supposed to do with that money. But the question is, what were they supposed to do with the money? Which then brings us to the new video that Pablo has dropped for us, and it's a juicy one.
The month is December. The year is 2022. So you may recall that Kawhi Leonard is back from his torn ACL.
December 2022. Remember, what's about to happen now happened after this man decided to resign in 2022. Cherney realized what was happening in 2022 and decided to walk away. What's about to happen next happened after that.
He's now tearing up the Boston Celtics in December of 22. I just need to establish that you may recall that in the last episode we did, I convinced an anonymous source in Aspiration's finance department to go on tape. There was a condition that we use what?
Voice modulation.
Which I granted because of the ongoing parallel investigations by the DOJ and the FBI and the SEC and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, otherwise known as the CFTC, and I want to respect just the sensitivity of the fact that this is a giant national scandal involving one of the richest people on the planet. All of which is to say that for this episode, what we're about to do here involves the product of the vetting and fact-checking and persuading that I spent time doing with another source, who I convinced to separately talk to me about December 2022. And they agreed to the same conditions.
I was a very senior executive in finance. I was also painfully aware of the fact that the contract between Kawhi and Aspiration was to circumvent the salary cap. I, too, brought that up with some of the more senior executives at the firm who were also aware of this fact. And much like many of the very senior executives at Aspiration, I had to spend a lot of time having conversations with some federal agencies about some of what was happening inside of Aspiration.
Now let's pause. As you can see and hear, that is a completely different person. That is not the same person that we've been listening to. The person that you're about to listen to was a person from the other video. This is a totally different video. Before we continue, however, good friend of the show, Rated R Mookie, he decided to drop a comment for us. The Clippers were innocent in all of that. the Kawhi deal with Aspiration, not the team. The contract had real obligations for Kawhi, and the NBA salary cap wasn't even a part of the talks. Aspiration collapsed because Joe Sandberg committed fraud, not because of Kawhi or the Clippers. Let's unravel that at a time, because many people are never actually addressing the questions that people have. No one is saying that the reason why the company failed is because of Steve Ballmer. I am telling you, I believe that Steve was indeed scammed, but not because he put money into the company to plant trees, but because he put money in the company to circumvent the cap. They took his money and did something with it that they were not supposed to do with the money. That's still a scam. Secondly, people keep saying that there was no talks of the NBA salary cap, but now, not one, but two people who worked there said that it was. Not one, but two. Two people are now saying this as well. And if we're supposed to believe that the people who work there are nothing more but innocent victims, which I believe that majority of them are, what is the motive for them to lie about this then? Seriously speaking, what is the motive? But we continue.
So, what was December 2022 like inside of Aspiration as you personally experienced it?
A show. December 2022, the company had virtually no income, no pipeline of clients, was really looking like it wasn't going to be able to make payroll.
The ship was sinking. It was just a matter of how long we could hold on.
And we ended up doing 2 rounds of layoffs. The first round was in the first week of December, where a bunch of very high-level executives got laid off. The president, the general counsel, some C-suite. And then the second round of layoffs, which was in the second week of December, was almost 20% of the entire staff. So about 100 people were laid off. I mean, to say it was bleak is almost an understatement.
They're out trying to find money. So when you're a company and your revenues are being outgunned by your expenses, you've got 2 choices. One, you can lower your expenses, or 2, you can increase your revenues. In the absence of either of those, you got to go 3, and that's going to the capital markets. You can take money off a credit card. That's the crudest way to do it. You can borrow money at those usurious interest rates, or you can go to a bank and try to get a line of credit. You can get a bridge loan from a bank, which is you borrow money to make payroll until your next revenue payment comes, and then you pay that bridge loan back. You can get long-term financing from a bank, sometimes a bank of ill repute, and it just depends what interest rate you pay. So you have to go through all of those options, which I assume Aspiration did.
So they badly needed money. The people that we talked to, the one news source number 2, is saying that they didn't feel comfortable asking others for money given what they were learning about the company behind the scenes. These are the people, by the way, who cooperated with the federal agencies. Just give people a sense of like who's talking to me. Now, briefly, imagine you're the Clippers. Imagine you're the team that Amin is wearing on his chest in December 22. In September of 21, you will recall vividly, Steve Ballmer had announced Aspiration as the thing on their chest, their jersey patch sponsor, right? The first founding partner of the Intuit Dome. Aspiration agreed to pay, do you remember? More than $300 million to the Clippers in sponsorship money over 23 years. Given what you now heard about December 22, spoiler alert, that didn't exist. What was clear, though, is that inside of Aspiration, according to my 7 sources, as well as Aspiration's internal cash forecast for sponsorship payments, which is a spreadsheet I obtained that you, David, now get to review in your mystery folder there. You can get it.
Now,
Yes.
you have the cash flow of Aspiration?
Now, before we get into this, let's further set the tone of what exactly is occurring. It is December of 2022. This is now everything that's about to happen. It's after Cherney, who just came out and spoke about what was going on when he was there. It was such a shit show that not only that we now have learned people were getting laid off and they were desperately scattering trying to find money, but he started to unravel and reveal some of the fraudulent behavior that was there, and so he decided to step away. That's where we're at right now. That things are starting to unravel. Money is running dry. People are not getting paid, and people are now getting laid off. So much so that Andre Cherney decided, I need to step away from this. Which is the reason why everything that he said in that tweet is effectively irrelevant from what we're about to speak about. Because if what he said is true, he was no longer attached to what is about to happen right now.
It's the cash forecast for sponsorship payments. Don't read it out loud yet. Despite the total financial show enveloping this company, was simple. Hey, KL2 Aspire LLC. David, what is it marked there on the cash forecast that Aspiration was internally using to make its sponsorship payments?
It is marked critical.
Yeah. Because in Kawhi Leonard's 4-year secret endorsement deal with this fraudulent company, which is now on the express train to bankruptcy, Kawhi's $7 million annual salary for doing absolutely nothing needed to be paid quarterly.
Right.
Okay? 4 $1.75 million installments. The first installment, $1.75 million, due in June of 22. The second, $1.75 million installment, due in September. The third, $1.75 million installment, due in December. But Aspiration had a problem. What do you think the problem was about making those payments?
I don't have any cash.
According to this Green Bank's Silicon Valley Bank statements, which I have acquired and confirmed and have in the folder in front of you, when does Aspiration send that first wire to Kawhi Leonard, and how much is it? It is due in June 22. What do you have in front of you there?
July 6, 2022. Wire out to KL2 Aspire LLC, $1.75 million.
Likewise, your folders will include Aspiration's September and October bank statements for your review. You may now look at that. This is when the next $1.75 million is due to be wired. And spoiler alert,
There is no transaction involving KL2 Aspire LLC.
I'm going to do you a favor and tell you that I didn't see that either.
So now what they're saying is that the payment that was due on June was late. That didn't come in through July. There then was supposed to be another payment that was supposed to come in as well. However, you can't find it because it was also late. So these are some of the first payments that are supposed to be paid to Kawhi, and they are already late. Be very mindful that Balmer had just put $50 million in, and a bunch of other people put a bunch of money in as well. So yes, it certainly seems as if if they weren't able to pay Kawhi his first payment, even if we were to take everything at face value, Balmer is without a doubt a victim of a scam. What scam is still up for debate, but it definitely seems as if they took his money and kept it pushing.
November. So I just ask you guys to imagine now, what do you think Uncle Dennis or anybody in his shoes would be feeling during this time as this contract was not getting paid and was now running late perpetually?
Well, I'm sure he was very calm and rational and didn't pick up the phone and call them a million times, banging down the door trying to find out where the money is.
Which is all to say that Uncle Dennis was pissed.
But between those months when all of this is missing, so September, October, November, and leading up to December, the actual certainty of the company even existing is up for grabs at that point. But lo and behold, Uncle Dennis gets paid.
December 15th of 2022, $1.75 million.
So now Kawhi, be very mind again, end of 2022 is somehow now getting paid. The company is scrambling. They don't know how to pay their bills. There's no money in this at all. People are getting laid off. Cherney is now realizing what's going on and he stepped away. But out of nowhere, they can make a $1.75 million payment. Interesting.
So this payment was made December 15th, 2022.
Mhm.
When was the 20% of the staff laid off?
The same day.
Oh,
The same day. They were willing to fire people. That's where they're at right now. They were willing to fire people before missing another payment for Kawhi to do what? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let that settle in. Friend of the show, Mookie, came back again and said, "Nigga, you keep bringing up salary cap like the Clippers cooked something." But even the people who actually worked on Kawhi's aspiration deal said cap space was never a part of those talks. Yes, because the people who were a part of Kawhi's deal either A, are lying, or B, don't want you to know the truth. The people who were involved in the deal from other people who worked inside of the company claim that they circumvented a bunch of other people and signed that deal without them knowing, without any of the higher executives going through the contract, figuring out if it made sense for the company. And there were a lot of people who were disdained by the simple fact that Kawhi was making that much money. So much so that there's actual emails from Joe Sandberg letting it be known, hey, all this Kawhi business stuff, enough is enough. I don't want to hear no more of it. That was a straight endorsement contract, 3 pages of obligation for Kawhi, and Aspiration could cancel if he didn't deliver. The question is, since he didn't deliver, why didn't they cancel it?
you may notice something that I noticed as you scan that, because something happened just 9 days before the wire out to Kawhi's KL2 Aspire LLC for $1.75 million on December 15th.
On December 6th of 2022, a wire in from DEA 88 Investments in the amount of $1,999,999.59.
According to our review of Aspiration's cap table and bank statements, there is no evidence that prior to December 6th, 2022, DEA 88 Investments, LP, had ever invested in Aspiration before, which I also confirmed with my sources, which means that DEA 88 Investments, LP, chose to invest that precise amount while this company was basically sinking into the ocean. And so given all of this, I said to myself, should probably look up the registered agent on file for DEA 88 Investments LP, and it turned out to be a man named Dennis.
Now, before we go into this, I want everybody to understand something. These dates, Kawhi gets paid December 15, 2022. I want you all to also recognize something. Around that exact same time, you know what Kawhi decided to do? Or, I'm sorry, not do? He decided to stop playing basketball. Huh. Just a little stiff. I'm a little stiff. I'm not going to play. Check clears? Oh, man. Get basketball again. I'm not only playing basketball, I'm playing some of the most basketball I have ever played in years. Right before, get a little stiff out there. Right knee stiffness. Check clears. Nigga played a bunch of games. Wow. Interesting. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting.
Uncle Dennis, a different Dennis.
Another Dennis.
Dennis Wong.
Oh.
Dennis Wong, our different Dennis, is a fascinating character. Not Uncle Dennis, but the Dennis seen breaking ground on Intuit Dome in 2021 in a COVID mask off to the side of Steve Ballmer in this video, which we played in episode 1, no less than 5 feet from Kawhi Leonard. He, in fact, is the Dennis in this other video we have, who is literally in the shadow of Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer in hard hats at the Intuit Dome construction site. There it is.
He's got
Wong.
a jersey?
He's got a jersey and a hard hat with his name on it.
Oh, my God.
He, in fact, is the Dennis you can find sitting courtside right next to Steve Ballmer, as in this photograph.
Oh, man.
Dennis J. Wong, our different Dennis, is the vice chairman of the Los Angeles Clippers.
Oh, come on, man.
He is the one and only limited partner, in fact, of the team. This has not been reported previously, but Steve Ballmer, the richest owner in all of sports, by far, has a very strange arrangement with his ownership group. Because the ownership group is Steve Ballmer owning 99%,
Right.
and Dennis J. Wong owning 1%. And that's it.
And that's current.
That is today. Dennis J. Wong is the alternate governor of the Los Angeles Clippers. He is the guy that Steve Ballmer empowers to attend the Board of Governors meeting when Steve Ballmer can't make it.
Can I just repeat it in a way that uses my brain the way it's Rolodexing at the moment? Are you saying that the 1% limited partner of the Los Angeles Clippers, who is the vice chairman of the Clippers, made an independent decision to invest in aspiration for this first time in his own name or his own entity's name, 9 days before Kawhi Leonard got paid when no one else was getting paid?
I am saying that is exactly what happened. And I am also saying that you should probably know that Dennis J. Wong was also Steve Ballmer's college roommate at Harvard in 1975.
So those niggas is like this. Like this. That's his twin. That's his twin in him. That's really that nigga brother. For dead ass. They go way, way back. 1975 back. A man that has so much money that he could purchase the Clippers 2-3 times over by himself decided that I'm going to give 1% to who? Who? My brother, my twin, my slime, the nigga that had my back since 75. Dennis Wong, who owns a company that not only decided to put money into the company, but put money into a company that's failing so much so that they're losing money, that they cut off people, they fired people, they can't make payments, and it's spiraling so out of control that Andre Cherney decided, as he now has admitted, to walk away. I want other people to also understand something very, 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 very important. That when you make deals like this, when you make decisions like this, we are now entering into legitimate money laundering conversations now. Very legitimate. Because paying $2 million for a company that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars gets you practically nothing. The percentage of stock that you own is effectively nothing. And it's definitely nothing for a company that is earning absolutely nothing. But if you don't believe me, let's hear what the employees have to say.
Really don't understand it, but I must not be a very sophisticated investor. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the amount that's being invested. That's such a nominal amount if we're talking pure investment, especially in a late stage startup that's in the process of a SPAC or on the outside date of a SPAC or going to SPAC at some point and has already raised in a year earlier $300 million. What does $2 million buy you?
But I did want to know what my second source knew at the time about the different Dennis in question?
I knew the name Dennis Wong because I got 2 texts from this very senior executive at the firm regarding Dennis Wong.
So inside of Aspiration, Dennis Wong's investment was identified as an investment with the Clippers clearly attached as part of the identification.
Yeah, and I do have another text as well. This is from November 13th, 2022. And it says, Wong is Balmer partner.
How surprising is it that a new investor would put money in December 2022 who had not already clearly been deeply invested into the company?
So it is beyond shocking. And I will tell you, I knew that the board, which is Ibrahim al-Husseini, who's been indicted, and Joe Sandberg, who's been indicted, I knew that they had put money in December to make payroll and make rent and all that material. It is not a rational investment that someone would make. So it is very shocking to me that $2 million was made as an investment by Dennis Wong, who in my text is identified as the Clippers, Steve Ballmer's partner, a week before $1.75 million was paid to Kawhi.
This is the new news that has just come out hours after all the other stuff that came out today. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested an additional $10 million in company sponsoring Kawhi Leonard. Another $10 million. Another $10 million. Another one. In March of 2023, Los Angeles Clippers owner Steve Ballmer invested almost $10 million into financial technology and sustainable service company Aspiration, according to legal findings reviewed by The Athletic and corroborated by a former Aspiration executive. The previous unreported investment came 18 months after Ballmer's $50 million investment in the firm, now at the heart of an NBA investigation into whether Clippers star Kawhi Leonard made a side deal to circumvent the NBA salary cap. See, most of you niggas, and this is why I say before, most of you niggas need to shut the fuck up. Shut up. Andre Cherney running around, oh, no, guys, it's not that big of a deal. I get it, dog. I get it. Balmer probably laced your pockets as well with a bunch of money to kind of shoot some bail. But see, you've already detached yourself from the company in 2022. You now need to address what was going on in December of 22 and now in March of 2023. See, Cherney, you weren't a part of it. Remember, that's what you said. You have now excused yourself from these convos. Well, now Balmer and Dennis Wong needs to explain to the masses, why were you investing into a company that was facing litigation? Why? Why? Why would you invest into a company that is sitting there talking about SEC is now looking into it? Why? That makes no sense. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I might be trying to pull off a scam. Because see, Balmer, when you sat down in front of Ramona Shelburne and you just sat there and said, I got scammed too. I'm a victim as well. I might have been able to shoot you some bail for the first 50 mil, but the 10 mil after that don't make no sense to me. That don't make no sense to me at all. Are you a victim or are you just trying to clean the books? That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. What up, Jamel? Now, here's the other thing that makes no sense. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is such an interesting fellow because Mark Cuban is one of these people to where it does not matter what information that you provide for him, he is always going to stand firm on whatever he believes. Remember the argument that Mark Cuban made last week was, hey, why wouldn't if he really did what he did, why wouldn't he just keep putting money into the company to make all this stuff go away? Looks like that's what they did. Looks like that's exactly what they did. That's quite literally what they did. Mark Cuban. And so then when asked about Mark Cuban with the new information that has been provided, does any of this change your thoughts on anything? Mark Cuban, even with the new information, still decided to stay firm on his beliefs and claim that none of this changes any of my thoughts whatsoever. If I can find a clip.
Yeah. Okay.
So one final point on here. As you mentioned on Pablo's podcast, we kind of talked about that whole thing last week without everything that has since transpired. When you were on Pablo's podcast, you made the comment, if I'm wrong about Balmer, he's not as smart as I think he is.
Yeah.
With everything that has transpired since, does anything change your stance?
No, not at all. It just makes it stronger. Like when I went on Pablo's podcast, like I said, I spent like maybe 7 minutes reading what was written about what Pablo did, reading the articles about that, because I'd seen all this shit before. And really, like one of my favorite all-time shows is on CNBC, and it's not Shark Tank. It's called American Greed.
American Greed.
American Greed. Right? I love that show because like one of my hobbies when I was in high school was reading about.
I don't think we need to continue to look into that. You're telling me new information was provided to you. Information to the tune that literally aligns with the idea of what you were claiming that he should have done to get away with it. He actually did that fucking thing. And you're telling me it's somehow stronger? That makes no sense. The thing that you claim that he should have done to prevent himself from getting found out, he potentially could have actually done the thing. But now all of a sudden, no. Before I got on the podcast, I 7 minutes. 7 minutes of what? 7 minutes of what? The original podcast was over an hour long. You did 7 minutes of what? You read a few things, clicked a couple of links, and then you got on the podcast and started going back and debating with someone who's been doing it for 7 months? Again, I want to be clear. It takes a special individual to even dare believe anything at bare minimum at this point is not interesting enough to do some hard looking into. But for you to sit there and to say that it further validates and makes your opinion even stronger, brother, at this point, we don't give a fuck, bro. We don't care. Also, let's be clear. What Mark is doing right now is also dog whistling to the rest of the NBA players, telling them, hey, come over here. I'll defend all this crazy shit. No, of course. Of course. He got scammed. I mean, Balmer, one of the wealthiest people who've ever touched the planet of this earth, was just so moronic to invest $50 million to this company and then another $10 million into the company after it was already going downhill. Come on, guys. I'll defend that. So you know what I'll do if you sign with the Mavericks. He's not tanking his image. He's actually making it better. Mark Cuban is one of the most identifiable owners in the NBA. If he can put his face out there and let it be known, hey, come on, guys. As clearly obvious these dots are starting to connect themselves to, I am still willing to go out there and just lay it all out. The other thing that I've realized and recognized is that this is probably the biggest reason why NBA players being a part of media is really fucking scary. The amount of NBA players who are just like, he's snitching. Close your fucking lips, you snitch. Really is blowing me away. Really blowing me away. I get it. There it is. Channing Frye. Oh, come on. Channing Frye calls out Pablo Torre for his Kawhi report. First of all, why are you snitching? Who cares? And while they're doing that as well, the thing that I find so fascinating, while they're doing that as well, trying to downplay the work that he's doing, they're also belittling his title from a real journalist to a podcaster. That man did 7 months of real research. To belittling him to just saying he's a podcaster when he's done more journalistic work than 99.9% of the journalists, and I use that terminology very loosely when describing everyone else in the industry. When just a few months prior, Bill Simmons had the audacity to fix his fucking lips and question his work as well. Why do you even care? Says the nigga that literally has made an entire career off of hypothetical trades that never actually happened. Why do you care? Whoop-de-doo! Nigga. There's not a single NBA player that I'm going to trust on this topic because those niggas know, they get money under the table. There's not a single owner that I'm going to care about because I know you niggas also handle it underneath the table. And shout out to Andre Cherney. He came out, he gave his side of the story. However, you let us know that by the end of 2022, you were no longer involved in this. But all the new findings happened after you left. So respectfully, you might have been on the side of trying to do good. You thought you were doing the right thing. And I'll grant you that. But these new findings happened after you were gone. So respectfully, we don't give a fuck. Balmer, you went in front of a TV and said, once we signed, the deal was done. It was over with. Was it over, or did you make another investment? Did your good friend Dennis Swong make an investment as well, who's also a representative of the Clippers? The only other one. Interesting. Like I said, if it was up to me, you'd be banned for 2 years. Kawhi's current contract would be voided and cannot play for the Clippers. And you all would lose 3 more draft picks. You would lose 3 draft picks if it was up to me. If it was up to me, that's what would happen. Because at this point, there's too much evidence that's in front of people for it to just be Balmer was just this gullible multi-billionaire, hundreds of billions of dollars. He's just so gullible. Oh, Steve Ballmer, the gullible, relatable Joe. He just didn't know any better. Can't be that. That cannot be the spin anymore. That can't be. And that's a terrible spin. Fuck. God damn.